Okay? So effectively, because one of the great rights is the right to contribute as well as to receive. And we've got that very confused in our psyche. Okay? So for him, participation circle, it's non-existent. But then you get out here, right? And you get into the world of economic exchange, where he is a client, where he's a receiver of services, where he's a consumer. And oh my God, you should see the amount of people that are in that circle. He's got more people in that circle than he can shake a stick at. He's got the guy who arrives in the morning, collects him. He's got the guy who meets him when he comes in and gives him breakfast. He's got the guy who works with him and shows him how to do whatever he's doing in the day. Then he's got a counselor if he's got difficulty, and it just goes on and on and on. You know, we've got social workers coming at us from every which way. Okay? So he's got lots and lots of professionals in his life. You say to Kevin, and he's a pretty clear guy, you know. He says it very simply, so there's no ambiguity. What would you like for your life? And he'd say, I want a wife like you have. And I want real friends. And I don't want people paid to look after me. It's pretty straightforward. He's not criticizing the people who are paid to look after him, but that's not what he wants. And it's interesting because a year ago, Kevin got an opportunity to work in a record store. And he absolutely loves music. That's his passion. Okay? He can tell you he hears a song, he'll know the artist, he'll know bizarre information about it. He just retains it, like, you know. So a year ago he got this job, and he was working at that time for about 2 weeks in this record store, and he was happier than I'd ever seen him before in his entire life. And because it was organized by the organization that he works in, he essentially got 2 weeks because, you know, it's a triangle, and triangles have rules, right? So you get 2 weeks because other people also need to get time, and they just worked it out. 2 weeks is the max he could get. So he went in, he did his 2 weeks, as I say, he was on cloud 9. Within a day or two of finishing his 2-week experience, his work experience, he went into a depression that I have never ever seen anybody go into in my life in terms of its depth. It was almost as if he got a taste of what his heart desired, and when it was taken from him, he actually began to realize that the 40-odd years previously had been in a lot of ways bankrupt to the dream he had. And he went into a depression not just because he lost the 2 weeks, but because a realization started to settle in. I'm not happy. And my dad rang me and he said, you know, we got a problem, and I really don't have the solution to the problem. And he started telling me what the problem is, you know. And he said, I've gone to the organization and I've really pleaded with them and begged them to see if they could get him another placement. And I said, Dad, you're looking for the solution in the wrong place. And he said, what do you mean? Systems aren't organized to be compassionate that way. They have to be compassionate to the other 40 guys. And no matter what you say to them, that's not going to change. And there's a relevance to that. So we have to find the solution somewhere else. And he said, well, where else are we going to find it? I said, Dad, with all due respect, you're married to her. Because my mother, she is the typical Irish mother. She knows everybody. I mean, everybody. She's not, in fairness to her, a nosybody, you know, or a busybody or whatever. But she's just really, really connected. Now, she is not somebody who will go and speak at public events or, you know, will be up front or, you know, that's not her scene. But she is so well connected you wouldn't believe. And by the way, that's something to be aware. You know, when you go into communities, you don't want to find the leaders. You want to find the connectors. Because they're the people that open doors to you. Now, what's interesting is that, you know, I said to Dad, just have a chat with her, okay? And ask her who she knows who might be able to, you know, get something sorted. He said, I never thought of it. Just see what happens. Within 4 days, my mother had the guy who runs the store in their house having dinner, putting shut off. And she sorted out the problem. Every second week, Kevin goes and he works in that store. He does real work, gets real pay, and meets real people. And you know what started to happen? What started to happen is, not in this space yet, I guess, but this space and this space is starting to fill now. Because when he leaves the record store, which isn't all that far from our home, People who would have met him in the record store from the neighborhood are saying, "Hi, Kevin." Because Kevin is somebody who is now in the space and is contributing, and is therefore connected, and is involved, and is participating. He's not the person that gets off the bus and goes in and listens to his records in his room and eats too much food and never really gets to talk to anyone. The handicapped person. He's the person, he's the guy who works in the record store, who knows more about music than most people would even care to know. So Kevin is becoming a part of our community. And what I would say, I think, about social inclusion is that social inclusion tells us that a community that doesn't have the space for Kevin has the space for no one. I think you guys could probably take that message and see that there's huge resonance in that message and in the True Sport message and in the other messages of the core mission that you guys have. So one of the things that I think is interesting about the conversations that we're having today is we're amplifying that message. And the question really then becomes about how can we, as associations, as organizations, and as human beings, amplify the circle of participation, particularly for those whose society has written off. Young people, older people, people with disabilities, people who are defined by their gender, people who are defined by their background in terms of heritage. How can society begin to say, well, actually, you know what? If we don't have a place for you, we have a place for no one.